on March 20th, 1904 in the hills of Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. Skinner grew up in a warm and stable home with a younger brother, a mother who was a housewife, and a father who was a rising young lawyer.
As a child, he loved to build things. In high school, his friends and he built a cabin in the woods selling elderberries. After graduating Hamilton College, he became a writer. He escaped to New York City and worked at a bookstore. He found books on Pavlov and Watson and was immediately interested.
At 24, he enrolled in the psychology department at Harvard. Around that time, he invented cumulative recorder. Skinner was married in 1936 to Yvonne Blue and had 2 kids. He invented the air crib, which was supposed to be safer than a regular crib. In 1989, he was diagnosed with leukemia and died August 18, 1990.
Skinner was a strict behaviorist who introduced the concept.
Oh look, Skinner's over here.
Oh, let's go meet him. Hi, Skinner.
Hi.
He was more concerned with predicting behavior and controlling it than understanding it. He avoided all reference to internal mental states. A behaviorist, like Skinner, is a psychologist who observes and studies behaviors of organisms and includes such things as emotions and motives.
In spring of 1945, at a dinner party in Minneapolis, I sat next to a friend who had a son and a son-in-law in South Pacific. We talked about the difficulties facing returning soldiers as they transition back into civilian lifestyle. This made me start thinking about an experimental attitude towards life that led me to write a fictional book that I called The Walden Two. My book begins simply as a description of a design for a community living. I was known as a slow writer and typically took a long time to write. It would take about 3 or 4 hours of writing each day to produce about 100 publishable words. Walden 2 was an entirely different experience. I wrote it on the typewriter in 7 weeks. In fact, I stated afterward that writing Walden 2 was a venture in self-therapy. Some of it was written with great emotion. After the publication of Walden 2, I received many letters from people wanting to know whether the community I described actually exists. Some even wanted to join.
Walden 2 was essentially about a utopia, which attempted to show a good life.
This is the good life.
It was a small town in which conditioning through rewarding those who show good behavior was considered the meaning of life. For example,
Your books. Good job. Skinner believed that children learn language as a result of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a method of learning that occurs through positive reinforcements, negative reinforcements, and punishments. An association is made between a behavior and a consequence for that behavior. B.F Skinner came up with the invention of the Skinner box. The Skinner box is an apparatus used to test theories of operant conditioning. In this experiment, he puts a rat in the box with 2 levers. One of these levers gives off a shock, and the other one has food behind it. The theory behind the experiment is that if the rat pulls a shock lever, it will learn not to touch that one anymore. Neat. And over a period of time, go for the one with the food behind it.
Criticism has been leveled over how much of the results of Skinner's experiments can actually be generalized of human beings.
criticism basically states that humans are far more complex and advanced than the animals used in the operant experiment.
Critics add that even though the behavior of both rats and humans tend to increase in frequency when certain consequences occur, that humans still have higher and perhaps different cognitive process.
B.F Skinner came up with the invention of the Skinner box. The Skinner box is an apparatus used to test theories of operant conditioning. In this experiment, he puts a rat in the box with 2 levers. One of these levers gives off a shock, and the other one has food behind it. The theory behind the experiment is that if the rat pulls a shock lever, it'll learn not to touch that one anymore.
You didn't squeal! It was a small town in which conditioning through rewarding those who display good behavior was the meaning of life. For example,
You have to say, put your books away.
Oh.